Live. All right. It's like we're here.
Hey.
Here we are.
Welcome, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed previewing the movie, the short film Circuit. This is the conversation for Circuit. You know, the truth is that there are a disproportionate amount of women and girls of color that are being sold into trafficking in the United States and around the world. And so I want to start by saying Happy Juneteenth. We wanted to do this as a Juneteenth celebration because not only do we want to understand and celebrate our past, but we must look at our present to evaluate what our future will be. And so this film is just that, a place for us to celebrate our past, but look at our present of what our future will be. And so with that being said, Circuit kind of deals with what we call a modern day slavery. And I'm so happy to be able to be here. My name is Keena James, and I'm going to be your moderator for tonight. We have joining us tonight Army, who is the writer and director of Circuit. We have Lauren Harrell, who is the producer and casting director for the film. Sophia, who is one of our actresses in the film. Dr. Stephanie Powell, who's executive director for Journey Out, which is a nonprofit that Circuit has partnered with during this time. And they help a lot with girls and women dealing with human trafficking and helping them to get out of the situation. I'm so glad to have each and every one of you here today. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. We're so excited. None of this would be possible without you guys. So definitely want to say thank you. And continue to share and watch and enjoy because we're doing some big things over here.
Mm-hmm. Definitely doing some big things. And I want to just get kind of right into the discussion and allow you guys to kind of just tell us a little bit, the importance of during this climate, the importance of the film. I talked a little bit as I was opening up of modern day slavery. And this is something that we don't talk about a lot. It's kind of hidden in the backgrounds and kind of the dark places, if you will, of society. So we don't really see it a whole lot, and it's not talked about it a whole lot. So I want to go to you, Army, first, and just talk about what made you just decide to write a film like Circuit.
Absolutely. So my sister, who lives in New York, she's a doctor up there, and she has been on the road to restoring women's lives through who have been trafficked for a while. And I always thought that she was like a hero. She was super cool for doing that. She would travel all around the world, India, Costa Rica, all these different places. So kind of in my mind, I assumed it was a international issue. And one day she kind of mentioned to me, she was like, Army, you'll be surprised how much it happens in the United States. So with that on my mind, I kind of just started doing some research about it. And I was shocked, honestly. Yeah. Very surprising what was going on. So I decided to do some research and start, writing a story. And from there, it kind of evolved. I brought on Sade Sellers, our co-writer, who, she helped me write it because the very original drafts, it was about two guys and their plight to they were like gangster mobsters, and they saved some women, and it's okay, but it's not really about the story and about bringing awareness. So she was like, Army, with your through your male gaze, we can kind of work on this and make this story more true to the survivors and making a difference. So that's kind of what we did. We went back and we hammered out maybe 6, 7, 8 drafts a piece, just working, bouncing ideas and changing the story, completely changing the characters until we got to a place where we felt that was right, which is the version that you guys saw that you're seeing now.
Wow. Wow. So I want to go to the cast. Thank you, Army. That is, I can imagine just version after version after version, really digging a little bit deeper each time, to make sure that you get the clear message across. The film was amazing in being able to clearly get the message across, but doing it so beautifully and so gracefully, you know. And I want to go now to Sophia and find out from you, just as the actress, one of the actresses in this film, you know, and being able to spread this word. When you were approached for the film, or you decided to, you tell me, how did you become involved with the film, and what drew you to it?
Well, it's a funny story. Army and I were actually friends on Instagram, and he reached out to me about this project for me to audition. I read the script. I loved it. I loved the story and the power of the message it was telling. And so, yeah, did an audition, got the role, and this role of playing Red is nothing like I've ever played before, and it was such an important role for me to do, and you know, to properly do research for, and I was just so lucky to work with this cast and crew on this project, and just to, you know, be a part of everything that's come since we filmed it last July. So
tell us a little bit about the research that you did to get prepared for the film.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was important for me to learn more about the subject, and so I watched a lot of documentaries and movies. Specifically, I watched Traffic, just to, you know a little bit more about the epidemic in our country and worldwide. So yeah, I did that. I read some articles and just tried to get as much information as possible.
Nice. So Lauren, what drew you to the film?
Oh, wow. Army messaged me a while, like a year and a half ago almost now, with the script, and asked if it was something that I would be interested in helping with. And for me, I have always been very interested in focusing on stories about women and focusing on ways to kind of address the issues facing women around the world and how we are treated unequally compared to men. And so trafficking in particular is the most brutal form of violence toward women. And so I've always wanted to be involved in something toward helping that subject. So when the script came along, I thought that was a great way of kind of approaching that subject and really kind of starting to get involved. And filmmaking is what I do, so I figured that was a good way to start. So yeah, we met up and we talked about the film, and instantly wanted to be a part of it and help kind of get it going.
So I'm going to open this up to everyone. Why now? Why now?
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Well, now, I mean, it's something that is, I think, so unknown. People don't really know about this subject nearly enough. I think it's not talked about at all. And I don't think until the movie Taken came out that people even realized that this was happening somewhere outside of a third world country.
Right.
And it was kind of shocking back then that it was like, oh my gosh, this can happen in Paris. But we don't even realize this is happening in our own backyards. So when we say, you know, trafficking is a United States problem as well as around the world, we're looking at the fact that the United States is actually one of the top 3 countries in the world for trafficking, which is probably very shocking to everybody.
Wait a minute, Lauren, say that again.
So the United States is one of the top 3 countries in the entire world for trafficking.
Top 3 countries.
Top 3 countries in the whole world, out of every country there is. So that means not only are, you know, girls and women being trafficked across borders, but it's our own women and girls here. It's American women and girls as well who are being trafficked. And so now it needs to happen now in terms of getting the word out, because this is happening every single day. These people are being trafficked and sold into slavery every day. And I think the modern climate that we're all obviously very much involved in at the moment calls for that action to be very necessary right now. We're all finally kind of opening our eyes to the realities of these issues that not everyone was clearly on the up and up about. So now we're kind of forced during COVID to really look at the problems and the issues and the systemic inequalities, and why not now? I think
Why
we
not
really
now?
need to start addressing the issues that are at hand, and we need to start at this moment.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I always say today changes tomorrow. So when you say why not now, it's like, I get it. I totally get it. Why not now? Why wait another day for something that's happening today and happened yesterday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We felt that it was extremely urgent, that this is something, because I had saw where in DC where there, I think it was like 100 girls who went missing over a span, and we didn't get any Amber Alerts. There was no news coverage or anything, and it was just amazing to me that that could happen, because if, as I'm sitting in my house, as you all do with iPhones sometimes, and your phone just goes burr, 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 missing child, right? You get those from time to time, and they're usually always white. But here we are with this issue of all these black and brown girls, and there's no ringing of the phone. So I just felt like it was very, very urgent that we made this, and this was at the top of my mind and at the top of my heart, and something that I really felt like I had to put out right at that moment.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That's powerful. And you talk about that so many people are going missing and people of color are going missing, and no, the world is kind of going on like normal. You know, I think I read something such as basic events like a Super Bowl where we're having fun and enjoying and watching football games, right? That's one of the highest places for human trafficking.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. And we actually kind of gave a little bit of a nod to that in the film, because you kind of see in the background when the girls are lining up in that penthouse, you see that there's a football game on. And when you're seeing that projection on top of Blondie or Burgundy's face, you see the football players kind of going across her skin. And you kind of get a little sense of that animalistic nature of the men there, which kind of coincides with that a little bit. And for us, that was a little bit of an acknowledgement of the fact that that happens so frequently there.
Yeah. Yeah. The Super Bowl is probably one of the most trafficked events throughout the year. Anytime there's an event with a large gathering of men and alcohol and money, those are typically areas that are prime for trafficking. So the Super Bowl being like the largest event like that, unfortunately, those are the types of things that are going down.
So now that's something to really think about. And it's neat how you guys, like you talked about, Lauren, you were conscious in making sure that that was happening in the background, kind of shadowing on their faces to kind of give a nod to that. What are some other small, because watching the film, I saw complexities, right? Layers upon layers upon layers. Even though you didn't see it outright, you could kind of feel it, or you could kind of, in your mind, you saw it. What were some of those things that you wanted to really be conscious about and make sure they were getting across, even if it wasn't with the actresses or the actors actually doing or saying it?
I mean, like,
but one of the things we really wanted to get across was the sense of being trapped and not really having anywhere to go. So a lot of what we did was searching for locations that felt cramped, right? Felt small. When you see these girls whirl, like the bathroom scene, basement scene in the beginning, where all three of them are in one place, and it's very tiny. And even at the end in the motel, they're all on the same bed. Seeing even the aspect ratio that we shot in. So we shot in the old Academy ratio, which is 1:1:3:3. So it's very tight knit frame versus films that we're traditionally seen with much wider aspect ratios to give you more data, right? So a lot of filmmakers, they're fighting for that, right? Like Spielberg, oh my God, I want to be able to shoot huge so you can see all the stuff on the outside, you know, but we wanted to kind of take that away and really focus you on the girls, their environment, and kind of put you in their headspace, so to say, you know, so it kind of limits you to all the outside and negative information on the outsides and force you just to focus on them, because that's kind of where those girls are. They don't know where they are. They don't know if it's day or night. They don't know what the date is. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't have their IDs on them or their phones or anything. So they're kind of living in this space, in this bubble. And we kind of wanted people to get a sense of that and take that away when watching.
Wow. So let's talk about casting. I know I asked Sophia kind of about how did she come into the role, but casting overall, because each and every character, I mean, the depth of the film, some of the characters that had to be played, you know, and finding the right person to play those characters. Walk us through a little bit about how casting happened and what were you actually looking for in that?
Sure. So I was the casting director on the project, so I wanted to make sure that we were being as authentic as we could be in terms of the portrayal of this film in as a whole. So diving into casting, I put out a breakdown, went through the normal channels, putting out a breakdown and sifting through submissions. And then I started with the self-tape process first and had people taping for each role, and then kind of narrowed it down to the top choices there. And then we kind of went through those. I sent those over to Army, and then we chose our top choices for each role for callbacks. And then I did in-person sessions for callbacks. And then that was where I really got to get in the room with the actors and have them read with a reader and really just make sure that we could dive into the characters a little bit deeper. And I could give them a little more of a background on their individual character, which was, I think, helpful to be able to really get them in that mindset and make them feel comfortable with the subject matter, because it is such a sensitive subject matter and it's a difficult type of role to play. So for each individual role, we really approached it in a way that I think helped lend to the authenticity, because I wanted to make sure that these actors, particularly for the women in the film, I wanted them to know they were going to be safe on set. I wanted them to feel comfortable on set and going into the project as a whole, that this was not going to be something gratuitous. It was not going to be something that was too graphic. So for casting, it was important for us to find actors that we felt we really trust in those roles and could really authentically portray these different characters. And with that, there's Burgundy, who is our lead actress who played Blondie, who's amazing.
Yay. Hi, Burgundy.
And
So you came on at the right time. Like, you have perfect timing. I'm telling you, you do.
in the car. Hi, everyone.
That's okay. So I want to say, as I start talking, I want to ask Burgundy and Sophia a couple of questions dealing with their roles and moving forward. But before that, I want to talk to you guys out there who are live. If you have questions, let us know, so that we can make sure that we ask the panel that we have here about the movie. So now I've asked Sophia, so Burgundy, how did you get involved with this film circuit? Uh-oh, I think we lost her.
Gotta love that technical difficulty.
Yes, you gotta love it. It's the world we're in right now. It's the world we're in right now.
I know.
So, uh-oh.
Well, in the meantime, yes, if anyone has questions or comments or anything, you can go on the YouTube page and you can leave comments under the video and we can get to those a little bit later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it looks like she's moving again. I'm going to ask one more time, and then I'll go to Sophia. Burgundy, I don't know. Can you hear us? No, it doesn't look like. Okay. So, Sophia, we know how you technology. Hey, We love it and hate it all at the same time.
Love it and hate
So
it.
now you told us a little bit of how you got involved. Now my question was really in watching the film as an actress, and I know you're playing a role, but you're actually playing real people in a sense, in a sense that there's girls out there that are going through that right now. How did you mentally one, prepare for the role, but then prepare after the role, like to decompress and kind of not take that with you?
Right. I mean, I just tried to remember like the whole time, on set preparing beforehand, just to remember the gravity of, the subject that we're talking about, and yeah, to do as much research as possible so I could play Red as authentically as, as I can. And one thing that was great was being on set. Our producers and director and everyone really made sure that it was a safe space and that we always kept that in mind, and what we were doing, what message we were telling. So yeah, so that was definitely really helpful for me to step into that space with each scene we were shooting, and being in all red clothing, red wig, like it was definitely I felt in the character when I had the costume on, so it was definitely that was helpful as well.
Burgundy, welcome back. So we lost her. I don't know. Maybe it's not meant to talk to her today. I don't know. It's okay. We're gonna keep moving.
We're gonna yeah. But
Well,
there was something I wanted to add about casting.
Yes.
We one thing we wanted to do, well, two things. First thing, we wanted to be authentic, and most girls who are going through this are like age 11, 14, 16. They're young. So a key part of casting was striking that balance between finding an actress good enough to portray this mature material, while also having the youth to look authentically the age that we were presenting. So that was also a key part in us casting Sophia, Mariama, and Burgundy.
Yeah.
As far as for the men, also we wanted to kind of not really go against type, but like we didn't want to cast we got a bunch of submissions of like your typical TV tropes, right? The Russian mobster, gangster types as guys playing these pimps, right? These the men who are handling it. So we really wanted to show the normal,
anyone.
Yeah, the averageness of these people that are taking these women, and how easily it could happen to anyone. So that's how we were able to find Xander, to find Roy, to find Pedro. I mean, these guys, they came in, they were great actors, number one, and they did the job well while kind of playing against the type that people were used to seeing. And that's also something I wanted people to pick up on, is that this can happen to you anywhere, anytown, USA, in your backyard. So you have to keep your eyes peeled and know the signs, know the warnings, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Pedro, actually. So Pedro played the suit. He played the guy who was having that penthouse party. And he was an actor I cast in another film previously. And we had already gone through the self-tapes and had already scheduled the callbacks. And that session was like 3 p.m. that afternoon. And I remembered him that morning. So at 11 a.m. I texted him. I was like, hey, remember me? I have a project that I think you'd be really good for. And again, it's not exactly to type. So I was like, can you be at this session in 4 hours? And he showed up and killed it and turned out to be our selection for that role. So that kind of worked out really well. So thank you, Pedro.
Wow. So I've got a couple of questions coming in. And I just want to say that in the casting, I mean, everybody wasn't typical of what you maybe would think, but they were spot on. In a lot of ways, they were spot on, which was amazing. And I think that helped the impact of the film as well. One of the questions that we have is, Pedro says he's so glad you hit him up. Thank you, Laura. But one of the questions is, you said America is in the top 3 for trafficking.
Mhm.
Is that for the victims or the person whom they go to?
Victims, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The sheer number of women, children, and boys who are at risk. We're top 3 highest countries who are at risk, and for people who are actually currently in there. And the scary part is, we honestly, realistically, probably only know a third of those numbers, right? Because how many of these kids were runaways, or were people who were in homes, or going through the shelters, or through the adoption process that slipped through the cracks, kids that are here illegally. Like, we truly don't know how big of a beast this is, because there's just not enough data. Like, there's no way to really know. Like, these are only confirmed cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes this especially scary.
Yeah, and it was important for us to make this an American-based film too, because I think so many people do find that shocking and maybe not even believable that the U.S. is the top 3 countries in the world for trafficking. So we wanted it to feel like this could be your sister, your next door neighbor, your best friend. It could be anybody, because this is so prevalent here on our own homes, soil. And I know North Carolina, for example, Army, me, Burgundy, you, Okina, like there's so many North Carolinians on this project. But North Carolina was one of the top 10 states in the country for trafficking, which was pretty surprising to find out. So it's not even just necessarily the big cities like in California, like Los Angeles or New York. These are the suburbs. These are the places that you wouldn't normally expect to have things, these dark, dirty things happening, but they're happening. And it could literally be your next door neighbor for all you know. So it's important to really recognize that this is not just an issue overseas. This is very much an American issue here.
Wow. So I have a question for Sophia. And that is, you told us a little bit about some of the research you did, and you told us a little bit, but they're still asking, what other techniques, are there any other techniques did you use to get into character?
Wow. I think specifically with Red, with her situation, knowing all the facts about her was really helpful up front. She's 17 years old. She's been in the system for many years now, since she was 11. And so it was important for me to know the facts and how she got there, just so I could know what her headspace was like, because, with her, one part of her brain has been sort of brainwashed into loving Driver, but then another part is like, she wants to have her life back. And she, I think her meeting Blondie sort of sparks that in her again of, oh, I see her bravery to try and escape. I'm gonna, maybe that's a thing that I want to do now too. So I definitely think knowing all the facts was really, really important for me when approaching this character and approaching this situation. And I definitely think, like, once again, I think her look and the fact that she has a nickname that's Red, it's sort of like she's not called by her birth name. It's sort of like this. She's like an object. And so I think, that was sort of striking. And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, which was interesting in the film, because no one was called by their birth name. Everyone had a nickname, as you said, Sophia, as if they were an object. And I imagine human trafficking, that's exactly what the girls and the women and the boys, as you mentioned earlier, Army, are treated like, as objects. They're possessions. They're no longer a human being, but possessions of who's ever in charge.
Right.
Yeah, because we, in part of our research, we conducted interviews where we spoke to women who have survived and who were willing to share with us their experiences and their stories. And it was just heartbreaking, truly. Just hearing, your family putting you into this, or the promises of love and affection, or just why don't you go to the cops? Oh, when I go to the cops rape me and put me back on the streets. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a very, 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 very harsh reality. And even a part of that, we went back and forth, me, Lauren, Lisa, Sade, over having a happy ending. Do the girls escape? Why do we end the way we end? It's because it's grim, and even though they have hope, we want to leave you with the allure of hope, that oftentimes that's just not the case, and we wanted to put a strong call to action at the end of the film. I feel like that gives a strong visceral reaction to someone to want to do something to help. They see that ending and they go, we can't let this happen. We got to do something. They get away and they get escape. Someone comes to rescue and it's like, oh, just like we thought.
Hollywood ending.
Hollywood ending. Always, you know what I mean? And then people will just go, oh, good movie. Great acting, great production value. Let's watch the next thing. Let's go watch Power Rangers. But
yeah. There's no need for me because they get saved in the end. So there's nothing that I need to do.
Right. Yeah. And that's not the reality. So we wanted to be, like we were saying earlier, we want to be authentic and realistic to lend to, the truth of the situation. And it was also important for us to make sure that the cast and crew understood why it was important to us to make this film and make sure that it was important to them as well. I remember we had a meeting at Army's one day with the cast and crew, or at least some of the crew, to kind of just go over basics where we could all go around the circle and introduce ourselves and what we're doing on the project. And then Army and I shared some of these statistics and the research that we had learned about, what the reality is for these women and these girls. And we just had a very frank conversation with everyone about how grim it is and how important this is to get out there. So that everybody was included in the knowledge and everybody was, putting their heart into it and knowing that this is an important piece of film to be a part of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it was great to see everyone really embracing that.
Wow, it really came through in the film. Now we have Miss Burgundy back with us. Welcome back.
Thank you.
There were
things.
Say that again for us.
I'm having a hard time with these new apps, so I'm sorry.
No problem. Technology is not going anywhere, so we just have to learn how to deal with it. No problem at all. I was asking Sophia a little bit earlier, and since you're back, I want to ask you, how did you prepare for the film? What techniques did you use for the film to get into character?
Well, before we started the process, Army gave a load of information. Way before we started the process, he sent a video where he interviewed women who actually had these experiences. So that helped a ton. Just having the knowledge and listening to these women and seeing their expression. There was one woman who was extremely, she felt deeply about her experience. And then there was another woman in the interview who was very casual, and she just gave the knowledge. There wasn't like much emotion behind it, and so I tried to implement both of those sort of in a way. When it came to Blondie, there were some moments where I wanted her to not be a victim and play strong, and you have hope that she's going to be the one to get out of there, or maybe even lead the other girls to get out of there. But I still wanted to bring, of course, fear to it, because I feel like that's a very valid emotion when going through that experience. But the knowledge that Army gave really, really came in handy. And, as an actor, I have my own process of meditation and prayer. And so I did that every day during the process as well.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I want to know is, how did you guys kind of decompress? So getting into character is one thing, but it's such a heavy character. Then moving away from that character when the film is done and you're not shooting at that moment. What was that like?
It was hard. It was hard because now you know something that you didn't know before about the world. That that, you know, you can't help but feel. I learned on another project that I worked on that instead of waiting until the end of the process to try to decompress a little bit each day. Not totally, because you want to still live truthfully in that character during the process, but it takes a toll on you. So just a little bit each day instead of waiting until the end. So like I said, the prayer and the meditation before and also afterwards.
Right. That's great advice. I'm going to take that into account. I mean, yeah, you're so right. I think playing this character, it taught me so much as a person, as an actress. And so it was, I can see now, you know, when I see articles or tweets or anything about, you know, human trafficking, like it hits different knowing, you know, Red's story and, you know, being a part of this film. It really did call me to action to do, you know, what I can rather than just, oh, play this character, you know, move on. It really isn't like that. And so I'm so happy that, you know, with Circuit, we've been able to, you know, through this film, help educate ourselves and do what we can as artists to spark conversations about it.
Yeah. So now from the research to the film to now, what have you become more aware of, or what was shocking that now you have a sense of?
Human trafficking in itself. I don't think I ever really took the time to learn about it, or I mean, I personally didn't hear about it. Especially with women around my age group and younger children and the ways that it happened. I mean, this is actually basic knowledge that I think, well, it should be basic knowledge that every woman should know, because everyone's story is different. And as scary as it sounds, you know, it could happen at any time in so many ways, anywhere. And yeah, now I just have like the knowledge of human trafficking from this project.
Definitely. I mean, it was something that, you know, with my parents growing up, you know, I wouldn't go to the mall by myself, and, you know, different things I'd learned growing up about the subject. And I had known it, you know, it's crazy. It's happening, you know, right under our nose. And, but I think from this project, I wasn't aware of just how many Black and brown women and boys, you know, are captured, and we still don't know about some of them, and, you know, how there is that inequality in the system. And it really shocked me. And I think through this project, I was able to learn about that and just how important it is for us to make a change in that direction. So
I didn't know that because the way Blondie comes into human trafficking is so interesting, because like a lot of times when you see people get taken, you see them get taken off the street, or you see a woman alone at night. And the fact that all this started on social media and she thought she was going to be in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
That is just wow.
Yeah. And that's such a common thing too. When I was reaching out to a bunch of different nonprofit organizations to get this research when we were starting pre-production on the film. And so because we wanted to really get as much information as possible, we had a number of calls with these people, and getting this information was just shocking as well in general, because you hear the way that people are sold into this. And what it is it's modern day slavery. And that's why we think it's so important for this conversation to happen today, which we can get more into after. But the fact that it's so prevalent on social media that these girls are lured into these situations where they do expect these relationships, and for it to turn on their head, it's very surprising to see. And I remember talking to a professional from one of the organizations who told me that a lot of times it's either it's that situation where they can come from a broken home, or they come from the streets or something like that, where they're lacking love in some way in their lives. So they're really seeking out love from someone else, and this person can promise love and protection to them, and then they end up flying them out to, you know, this place where they're going to meet up, and they think they're, you know, going to live happily ever after, and they end up going straight to a hotel, and they end up throwing them in some hotel room and filing through man after man, and that's how they're going to earn their keep, kind of thing. Or the other situation that's very prevalent is the fact that it's their own family members and close family friends who are selling them into these situations because of something as simple as like a $40 grocery bill that they can't afford, and it's one less mouth to feed. And someone's offering, $40 to take the kid off their hands. And it's horrifying. But it's such simple things that you don't even think about, because like Burgundy said, you expect it to be something sometimes more violent or, abducting them off the street, but it's often their own families putting them into these situations, which is horrible, or luring them online on social media.
Wow. Army, you have anything to add before I want to talk about the film a little bit, kind of where did you shoot and all that? Before that, I want to make sure you don't have anything to add to this, because this is just great.
Yeah, I just had one thing to add, is just that men have to do better. We have to do better as protecting women, talking to our friends, because that was a big part of my, I guess, maturation, was learning about all the toxic traits that me and my friends had, and me and the kids I grew up with, and my the area that I'm from, and the people that I grew up around, and how we thought. And I just really started realizing that that frame of mind was leading to a lot of destruction in the world. We're birthed by women, we come from women, like, you know what I mean, and we just got to do better. So that just became part of my platform, and that this is part of something that I feel very strongly about.
Wow. Thank you. So we have a viewer that wants to know, where did you film the short, and how long was the shoot itself? Yeah,
so we shot in Los Angeles. It was a 3-day shoot. And I mean, the pre-production process was so long. I mean, we had to raise the money. We had to find the locations. We had to find the actresses, actors, get permits, not get permits for certain places.
Last minute changes of location.
Yeah, last minute changes, crew members falling off.
Yeah.
As
independent film goes.
We were filming at this warehouse, and the guy gave us a tremendous rate. He was like, "Oh yeah, you shoot over a holiday? No one's gonna be there. You got all day." And then all of a sudden we get there, and he's like, "I'm double booked. You got 4 hours. You gotta get out of here." We're like, "What?" And then the place we're supposed to go after, the hotel, they booked our room, gave our room away. I mean, part of being a filmmaker is being a problem solver. Literally, because Murphy's Law, whatever the law is, whatever can happen will happen, and they did. And you just got to be prepared for that, and got to be up for the challenge, and me and my team, we were just especially equipped, which was great, so every seemingly unsurmountable thing that came in our way, we just leveled it and just kept moving, because we all knew how important this was, and we weren't going to stop until it happened.
Also, that huge earthquake was exactly the day one of us shooting too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember how big it was, but it was like the one earthquake that was like crazy, because it was over 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, during the kitchen scene, I think the cupboard started shaking. There's all cut for a second.
That mirror was like,
wait it out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. But you survived. You survived through it all.
We survived a crazy motel that was just the most insane thing I've ever seen, and crazy guy. Yeah, we went through it all. We came out of it.
A lot of night shoots. Yeah.
Oh gosh, the night shoots. The naps on the couch for Burgundy curled up.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So it's been a process.
Sounds like you guys made some really good memories.
Yeah.
As you were making a good film.
Yeah.
So we have a viewer that wants to know that during the actual shoot itself, was there anything that happened during the shoot itself that kind of changed what you did in post-production?
Yeah, I mean, we
okay.
had to cut our shooting schedule a little bit. We were a little overambitious on the penthouse scene, so we did have to cut a little bit there. Army, you can take that more because you were involved with Claudia.
Yeah, so in terms of post production, I mean, we had to use some ingenuity for the storytelling, because, like I said, we did lose some very important scenes or some things that we wanted to get that would help with the continuity and help tell the story in a seamless manner. So just want to give a shout out to Claudia Costello, our editor, who's also the editor of Black Panther, Creed, and Fruitvale Station, for coming in and very, very moderately priced doing.
We got very lucky with her.
Yeah, terrific job of helping us out there and cutting this film and giving us a great just using her big studio movie making eye to help. Me and her logged a lot of hours to really put it in perspective and make it make sense. And I think in the end, you guys witnessed it. It just came together and worked.
Yeah. So you cut out a little bit when you in the beginning when you were talking about Claudia, and I want to make sure that we can hear the props that you want to give Claudia.
Oh,
so
yeah. So Claudia Costello, she also edited Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, and Creed. So yeah,
no big deal.
So you had some serious backup in editing.
Yes, we had some help.
Awesome. So it said that you did a very good job on the film, and at the beginning of the film you stated it was a true story. What state or city did this occur in?
Yeah, so it was kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different stories. So like I said, we interviewed several girls, and we kind of took bits and parts and pieces of each of their lives and each of their stories and kind of infused them into 3 different women, and we had 3 different tales kind of going concurrently. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from.
Okay, and I've got one other question for you. That has working on circuit, did it inform or change you or your work moving forward?
I'd be curious to hear from Sophia.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely it has. I mean, I just feel from working on this project, like, so honored to, to be trusted as an actress to approach this subject. And something that is really important to me is, people of color as creators, artists, collaborators, and working with women and sharing like new stories that are necessary in our industry. And I think that's something that I really got from this project, and it's something I really want to do more of in the future. And I think working on this project was so positive, and I have so many great memories from doing it. And so yeah, I think it's a good standard to hold at. Yeah.
Has it changed anything that you looked at direction wise for work and things of that nature?
For me, I mean, I've always tried to have a focus on projects that have kind of a social justice route to it. Not all of them, obviously. I've worked on projects that are just fun and whatever, but a lot of stuff that I try and work on has some sort of deeper meaning to it and something that's important to get the subject matter out there. So this definitely just inspired me even more to keep that going, because we've looked at all different ways that we can help, not only just on this subject, but looking at future, other projects in the future as well. So for me, yeah, I mean, this absolutely was a wonderful experience to be able to kind of inspire that going forward.
Yeah. For me, I'm very much virtually the same, like Lauren said. If you look at people who are on here, who's followed me, know my past work, seen my past work. My first 2 films, I'm sorry, my last 2 films before these were both about police brutality. And then I had a film called Black and Blue, about a police officer who's black and he's blue. So, I mean, if you go back and look at all my work, I've always been a social justice filmmaker, and I think that it's important to have that in all of my work. and telling it authentically and truthfully. And I think what informed me most after this movie was making sure that it's authentic, not just something that I concocted in my own head or some story that I just thought, it's making sure to really, really dial in, do the research, connect with the experts, like Miss Stephanie Powell. Wish she could have
technical difficulties.
Working with the people who are really, dialed in with boots on the ground on these issues, who deal with this on a day to day, and making sure that we're speaking to them and that, we're just telling it as truthfully as possible.
Thank you guys so much. I wanted to make sure we gave a shout out to Dr. Stephanie Powell with Journey Out. Again, she is a nonprofit that partnered with the film circuit. As you partnered with Journey Out, are there any other places that you have made the film, people aware of the film, any other organizations and things like that you've made aware of the film?
Yeah, there were a bunch of different organizations we had reached out to in the beginning. Nisi Worldwide was another one who provided us with a lot of information. I had maybe an hour and a half conversation with one of their representatives who gave me the information about how girls get involved in trafficking that I was talking about earlier. So they were a big help in terms of information. There were a bunch of others too. Army, do you remember which ones?
We literally reached out to
so
hundreds.
many.
We heard back from a lot. Some of the bigger ones like Polaris, did, I don't want to call them back, but
no, you're fine.
We didn't hear back from everyone.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people that we did hit, were very conscious of trying to protect and not really trigger their girls. So, they're like, oh, we want to work with you once the film is made, once we see it, reviewed it, see what it's like. Or they were just giving them information like, hey, we can just give you some facts right now, holler at us later. But the film, we've partnered with an organization called Film Shortage, who so they have the film streaming on their website, and that they're sending out to all their followers. It's all over their social media. Also, Black Film, which is another online publication, which is huge. They're huge, and they usually do a lot of features. So I was surprised that they were like, yeah, we love this, and we'll put your short up there. So that's great. And we're still partnering, with more. We're trying to take it out to some networks, see if we can get it licensed, distributed. So hopefully we can see it on like Apple or HBO or Amazon. So we're like that soon. And, we'll just keep fighting a good fight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You had something, Lauren?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I think we also, before we go, I wanted to make sure that we did acknowledge Juneteenth and kind of the connection a little more to today, because that's also a really important element of this. So I think that's something we can dive into for a minute as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's just go right there. Let's just go right there to Juneteenth. Army, I'll just open it up to Army, Lauren, Sophia, to all three of you. I'm kind of gearing it towards Army and Lauren, but it's to all three of you guys. Why the importance of releasing it today?
Yeah, so Juneteenth is a day that's really getting some recognition, right? We're starting to see people are starting to understand its importance and its significance, and it's starting to get its due that's been long overdue. So choosing this date as a date to release the film, that we felt that people call human trafficking modern day slavery, right? It's a place where women are stripped of their ID, their lives, their phones, their connections to their families. Like, they are literally taking from where they are, and they're placed in a place that's foreign to them, right? Kind of like how Africans were. We're stripped of our heritage, we're stripped of our culture, we're taken from Africa and put in a totally foreign country. And June 19th marks the date that finally the slaves in Texas were notified that they were free, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So we thought that the timing was just great, since more than 70% of, you know, women that are trafficked or African American women. This is a problem that we feel like for African American women is very, very much understated, and we just kind of wanted, you know, this date to coincide, and we think that this is a great date, date that we should celebrate, but the work is not done, because, you know, we still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And it's also so important for us because this film in particular focuses on Black girls. And that's, I mean, trafficked victims and survivors are the ones who are so silent. You don't ever hear from these people. And the most silenced voice is a Black woman or a Black girl. And so we wanted to really focus on the importance of the fact that there's such a large majority of these girls and women being trafficked that are African American. And also, shockingly enough, or maybe not so shockingly, I guess, is the fact that for any traffickers who are caught, the sentencing for traffickers of African American women is lesser than for, say, a white person. So that was also something I guess could be, you know, I don't think anyone would really be that surprised in the long run, but it was initially kind of shocking to also see that even in that instance where you are literally stripping the freedoms of someone and putting them into slavery for sex acts, and you are not getting as long of a sentence because you trafficked Black girls than if you trafficked a white girl, and it's unacceptable. So we wanted to make sure that that was something that we addressed as well with the film in kind of a secondary sense. So
yeah, I'll jump in too. I think in this new wave of, you know, Black Lives Matter movement and all of the change and a revolution that's sparking up again, I think the hashtag all Black Lives Matter is really, really important. And I think always, but specifically, you know, Juneteenth, I think it's just important to support Black voices. And, you know, through Circuit, it's a way for us to tell this message and, you know, to support, you know, Black director, Black actors. And I think releasing it today, I think it's just really powerful and it helps spread that message. And yeah, so hashtag all Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it is definitely, you know, I said it in the beginning and I'll say it now that it's good to celebrate our past and understand it, but so that for our present, we can evaluate how far we've come, where we've come to, right? But also what work needs to be done so that our future can be better as well. Yeah. And right. Definitely this film evaluates that and says, hey, we still have that work to do to move forward, which is exciting to be released on today. One of the things that I wanted to do before we got out of here, as we're wrapping up, is just talk a little bit about Journey Out. I know that Dr. Stephanie Powell could not be on, but the work that she's doing, and because she's partnered, the nonprofit is partnered with the film circuit, I want to make sure that we just give her just due and understanding, because she's out on the streets doing the actual work, like street outreach, you know, going to where the people are, not necessarily waiting for them to come to her, but going to where they are and planting seeds along the way so that when they're ready or the opportunity comes, they have a safe place to come to. Would you guys like to talk a little bit more about Journey Out?
Yeah. So they are an incredible organization. They do everything from crisis response to providing legal counseling or, you know, access to legal aid. They provide housing, clothing, like any type of shelter or anything that is needed, hygiene products. They also provide art therapy, counseling, you know, all types of different resources for these women who are survivors of trafficking, who a lot of times go into it at a very young age, 6 years old or younger sometimes. So these people had their childhood and their innocence stripped away from them completely. They don't even have an identity anymore. So Journey Out is one of those organizations that takes these people and helps to rehabilitate them so that they can find themselves and that they can have these resources to process through their traumas. So it's really incredible what they've been doing. And they are also very much focused on, you know, voices and of people of minority, and really trying to reach out to all different kinds of communities.
Yeah, we're just so grateful and so thankful to have them because just everything that they do is so incredible and so awesome. And it's great to have a filmmaker like me tell a story and get people fired up. But without Journey Out, they would have nothing. The people, fired up. What do we do?
Yeah.
There's people that actually out there really doing the work, and so we're kind of like the bridge. We're getting people to see it, and then they're going out and helping actually really do something about it. So I think that's grand.
Yeah, and shout out to Mary David as well, who works with Journey Out, and she's the one
Absolutely.
who kind of bridged us to Dr. Powell, who is incredible, who got us involved in the partnership, which we're so excited about. So big thanks to both of them, because they really have been vital in making this partnership happen. And like Army said, we want to help with solutions, and we can present this film and get people fired up and inspired to know more and want to do something about it. But it takes those organizations to go to the next step. So, also providing solutions for people to kind of figure out, okay, I want to do something. What can I do to help? You can go check out journeyout.org and you can go donate. You can look at ways to see if they need volunteers or anything. There's other organizations as well in your own local communities that you can probably volunteer or donate to as well. But for Journey Out in particular, we're very supportive of them and what they do. So you can always start with donating. And spreading the message, really sharing on social media is something that, at least it's an education to start. It's somewhere to start.
Yeah. And so that's journeyout.org, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That they would go to.
Yeah.
And so as we're wrapping up, I want everyone, just your last words that you have. And Army, I'm going to save you for last. The last words that you have, and what are your social media handles, or how do we get in touch with you? How do we follow you? That's the thing now. We're talking about technology today. We want to make sure that we can keep in touch and see other things that you guys are doing, and become groupies and fans.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. Once again, my name is Sophia McDowell. I just want to say thank you for having us today. Thank you to Journey Out LA. You can follow me on Instagram, Sophia R. McDowell, to see everything I'm up to. And follow Circuit Short Film on Instagram too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll reiterate, thank you so much to Journey Out and to you, Kina, and to everyone who has contributed to our Seed and Spark campaign, who helped make this even possible. We obviously couldn't have made this without every single person who donated to that campaign, so that was wonderful. And our casting crew, obviously, were incredible people who really gave their heart and soul to this. So we're also very grateful. Army and I will both agree that you guys rock. So thank you for that. And we just hope that this film can raise awareness and get people talking about this topic, because as we kind of acknowledged earlier on, this is not really a subject that people know much of anything about. And so hopefully now that you do know that this exists and it's happening here, you'll do some more research and you'll figure out ways of having those conversations and taking some sort of action. I'm a little incognito on social media. So don't worry about me. It's called Circuit Short Film. But thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, cast, crew, to you, Kina, to Journey Out, to everyone that's watching, everyone that's supporting. This has been an incredible journey for us, and we can't wait to continue this and see how far this goes. And we hope that we all can do something to change the world. All it takes is one person. So if each of us are doing our part, hopefully when we depart, we'll leave this a better place than where we found it. So thank you, everyone. You can follow me at Army_strong on all platforms. Please follow Circuit on Instagram at Circuit Short Film, on Twitter, Circuit Film. Please continue to share with your friends, with your family, with everyone that you know. Please share, retweet, repost, like, comment, so we can get as many eyes on this as possible and save as many lives as possible.
So I want to say thank you to the panelists and thank you to you who took the time to watch this and to listen to what we had to say and who viewed the film as well. You know, as we're in Juneteenth Eve, I want us to all think about, as we're celebrating the past and celebrating the emancipation of all enslaved, understanding what the past brought and how far we've come. Let's look at the present. What else needs to be done? This is an area right here where we still need your help. The conversation needs to continue past today, past this panel, past circuit. You know, continuing to share circuit, as Army said, continuing to have the conversation and be vigilant, continuing to partner with organizations like Journey Out and other things that are in your local areas, as Lauren said earlier. We thank you so much for viewing today, and we hope that you'll continue to look, evaluate, so that the future can be better, not just for ourselves, but for our children, our grandchildren, the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kina. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We hope you enjoy the film.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Take care. Thank you.